Today I'm doing my first 24-hour readathon. I'm so excited. I am planning to split this over 2 days. Today's Saturday, so I'll plan on reading about 12 hours today and 12 hours tomorrow. I need my sleep. I have other responsibilities, and I just think that's a good way for me to format this. But that's a lot of reading, and since I've never done one of these before, I'm very curious to see how much can I read in 24 hours. It's currently 9:31 in the morning, so I've got the whole day ahead of me. My weekend is cleared for this, so I'm very excited. Let's go over some of the books that I'm thinking about reading. I keep the books that I'm thinking about reading next on this shelf right over here. So I'll pull those out. It is a big stack, but lots of good stuff. For the most part, these are the books on my monthly TBR and my end of the year books that I want to get to before 2026. Reign of Shadows and Endings by Melissa Roerich. This is the first book in the Legacy series. Thunderhead by Neil Shusterman. This is the second book in the Arc of a Scythe trilogy. Conform by Ariel Sullivan. This is a new release, dystopian romance. Alchemy of Secrets by Stephanie Garber. This is her first adult novel. I love the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy, which is by her, but that's young adult. I'm also borrowing this from the library right now, so this would probably be a good one to get to. Fearful by Lauren Roberts. This is a novella, the conclusion to the Powerless series. It's also very short, so it would be nice to knock this one out. Morning Star by Pierce Brown, the conclusion to the original trilogy in the Red Rising series. I know this is gonna be so good. Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. I'm planning on reading this at some point for a book club that I'm interested in. It is a very long book though. I feel like I'm gonna wanna balance it out between alternating long books and shorter ones to keep me motivated and keep reading. And then my current read, Wool by Hugh Howey. I am 136 pages into this book, so a good chunk in, but it is a long book. It's over 500 pages, so I still have a lot to go through. This 130 pages or so that I've read so far, I read in one sitting, so I'm loving this. This is the first book I'm going to start this 24-hour readathon off with. This is a sci-fi book. It is about these people who live in an underground silo, and they're told that it's not survivable outside, but the question is whether or not that's actually true. So it has a lot of mysterious elements to it. I'm currently watching the TV show Silo on Apple TV, which is based on this book, and loving that too. Another super interesting element of this story is that if someone says they want to go outside, then their punishment is that they have to go outside. So if you're gonna say that you think the world outside the silo is survivable, you better be pretty sure. Otherwise, you're not gonna make it out there. The interesting thing about the book versus the TV show is this is split into 5 parts, and that's because this book was actually published as 5 short stories. So they kind of follow different characters, and I don't know how well they're all gonna tie in together, if they will or not at the end. The TV show might do a better job raising questions and making you think about the mystery of the silo, since it has all the information and kind of leads up to answers towards the end. Whereas the book, you're kind of getting questions at the beginning of one short story and then answers at the end of it. At least that's how it's been so far. I read 2 of the 5 short stories. The first one, incredible, hooked me right away. Loved it. Such an interesting premise, and really cool that we got the answers at the end. But then going into the second story, that one was really slow, focused more on this romance that I just wasn't as interested in, because I just want more mystery and dystopian, kind of like what we were getting in the first story. It did do world building and kind of show what life in the silo was like, and I do feel like it's probably setting up for the other stories, because it introduced Juliet, who's actually our main character in the book and in the show. She's a mechanic who's selected to be the sheriff of this silo after the previous sheriff in the first short story chose to go out. So very, very interesting. The pacing did slow down around where I'm at now, But going into the third short story, it seems like it's gonna pick back up. It seems like it's focused more again on going out. I want more questions. I want to be curious about the answers. I want the high stakes, and I think I'm gonna get more of that in the third section of this book. So we will see. I'm gonna start the timer, 24 hours, counting down. So we'll see how much of this I can read, and I'll update you later with some more thoughts. I am 3 hours into my 24-hour readathon, and I am only 30 pages into this book from where I started. I know, that's not very much, but I promise I am picking up the pace now. I am locking into this book. I am sitting here, I am reading. We're gonna make up for lost time. After I started the timer, I started reading, and then I realized I was really tired because I stayed up late last night reading. And I was like, oh, I should go to Dunkin' and get some coffee. And then I was like, oh, it's really nice outside. I want to go for a hike. And here we are, 30 pages in, 3 hours in, but that's okay. We have 21 more hours to make up for it. I did read in the car, so that's where the 30 pages came from. But we have plenty of time. We're gonna get through this book. We're gonna get through more books. I don't really ever drink coffee. I went through a phase where I did, but not anymore. So I am full of energy now. So intrigued to know why the silo exists and why they all live underground in this sort of bunker. They just mentioned something about kind of the structure of the silo, and they mentioned something about this in the first chapter as well, and it's definitely a clue. I just don't know what it means or the significance of it. And I wonder if we'll find out in this book. We didn't find out the why in the first season of the TV show. I'm a few episodes into the second season right now. There's only 2 seasons out, but I think there's gonna be 4, which that's also a little bit difficult to separate what I know from the TV show with what I'm reading in the book, because the characters are a little bit different. Not all of the characters in the book are in the show, and vice versa. But anyways, I really want to know why the silo exists. And this is a trilogy, so I wonder, we might find out in the second book why the silo's there. But that mystery is making me keep reading. It is very interesting too. There's kind of a murder mystery going on right now, and other questions like wanting to know why someone would choose to go outside the silo. There are just a lot of questions. But with the why the silo exists, Juliet, our main character, she's talking about the stairs in the silo. There's 144 levels of this winding staircase. She said about the stairs, she doubted they were engineered to travel much beyond a single level of a silo, basically implying that these stairs weren't built for them to be traveling up and down as they do. And in the very first chapter, it says something like that too. Just a couple pages into the book, Holston, who's the focus in the first short story, said, and he thought, not for the first time, that neither life nor staircase had been meant for such an existence. Like much of their cylindrical home, it seemed to have been made for other purposes, for functions long since forgotten. In this book, no one knows the history of the silo, so as the reader, you don't know either. And that's the most interesting mystery to me. I mean, there's a lot that's interesting in this book that raises so many questions to wonder why they're in the silo in the first place. But why would they be in the silo and it not be designed for them to be there long term if they are? And no one knows why. It goes on to say, what was now used as a thoroughfare for thousands of people moving up and down in repetitious daily cycles seemed more apt in Holston's view to be used only in emergencies and perhaps by mere dozens. But they have 10,000 people in this silo. So why would they design stairs to be used only in emergencies, not for that many people, not to be used day after day, to travel between floors, maybe only to be used to go up and down between one floor at a time? Seems like it wasn't designed for them to live in. So I just think it's interesting that that was mentioned at the beginning, and now for Juliet to be saying basically the same thing again, it's kind of drawing it back to my mind and making me think there must be an answer. There's something fishy going on there. It's really good. I like this book. It's keeping me asking questions and wondering when we're gonna get the answers. Another interesting thing, it's diving more into their society, kind of revealing throughout the story of what this dystopia is like. But I find it so interesting. All of their relationships have to be sanctioned, so they can't just date whoever they want. The government has to know about it, and you can't just have children if you want to. You have to enter a lottery if you want to have kids, which I imagine is a population control attempt, considering they have limited space in this underground silo. But like I said, there's a murder mystery kind of going on right now, and whenever someone in the silo dies, they hold the lottery to have kids pretty soon after, because they're like, oh, a space cleared up. There's one less life, so we can bring in one more life. And Juliet's commenting on how that seems pretty inhumane, and I agree. That's pretty crazy, but also so interesting. It's a very neat premise. Finished the third short story and it was so good. Just as good as the first one. Very compelling, fast-paced, much faster paced than the TV show. The TV show very much just kept adding more and more questions, leading up to bigger reveals at the end and leaving a lot of questions unanswered. But in the book, we're getting answers quickly. New questions are arising, problems are being solved, and then we're finding out pieces of the puzzle, which is really cool because I'm on page 244, about halfway through the book, and we've already gotten some answers that I didn't even know about after watching 1.5 seasons of the TV show. So I'm curious where the third short story is gonna go. It's also very interesting how different characters from the show versus the book are focused on more or less. I think the way they did it makes sense for TV to kind of keep the suspense going, keep you asking the questions and leading up to bigger reveals, and then keeping you hooked to go into the next season. I didn't know how I'd feel about this being separate short stories, but they are flowing well, and I'm really enjoying that at the end of each one and throughout, we're getting answers. We're not just left with questions until the very end of the book. So I am loving this. I have 19 hours left, so I am 5 hours into the readathon, a little over 100 pages read, so making some good progress. I'm definitely picking up the pace, and it's a good book. It's easy to just keep reading this one. I don't know who this fourth short story is gonna follow, but I'm very curious if it's just gonna keep going chronologically versus having more flashbacks. The TV show definitely has a lot of flashbacks, which slows down the pace, adds to the suspense, but I want more answers. I want to know what's going on. This is done really well. If it does keep going, then I feel like this is going to quickly surpass what's happening in the TV show. So I'm curious how that'll go, but I'm going to keep reading and I'll update you when I find out. I made it to part 5, which is the longest part of the book. It's also the last part of the book. So I only have this much left. I'm about 360 pages in, 367 to be exact, but making progress. It is 9:30 now, and I have a little bit over 12 hours left. 12 hours and about 8 minutes. So we're about halfway. I am going to read some more tonight, So I'll probably read a little bit more than the 12 hours today. Then I'll pause it so I can sleep, go to church in the morning, and then I'll restart the timer when I'm back. But hopefully I can make a little bit more progress on this before I go to bed. I don't want to stay up too late again, but it is so good. I want to keep reading. I'm also glad that in part 4, I feel like we're finally starting to get some more answers. Not the outright answers to why they're there, but maybe some more pieces to the puzzle, some more clues about where things are heading. I think that the TV show season 1 is based on the first half of this book, and season 2 must be based on the second half of this book, because this book feels so fast-paced. And I think it is just written that way, but also the TV show really slowed this down by splitting it into 2 seasons. So that's why this feels so much faster, since I did watch most of the TV show first. My only critique is the names. It's not even a big issue, it's side characters, but why are there 3 people named Peter in this book? I don't know if maybe the author was trying to be realistic, because a lot of times in real life people have the same names, but reading a book where multiple characters, not even 2, 3 characters have the same name, that could be kind of confusing. I'm not confused, but I feel like that could be confusing. The TV show did change some of the names, probably because of that. There's also a George and a Georgie, which is very similar. I feel like oftentimes it's hard just to keep up if 2 characters have names that start with the same letter. But as far as complaints go, that is a pretty minor one. I am loving this book otherwise, and I'm glad that I've gotten a decent chunk of the way through it. Time to keep reading. It's Sunday, about 1:30 p.m. and I have 8 hours and 50 minutes left in the readathon. I am on page 406, so I made some progress last night. I still have a bit left in this book. I also think I'm starting to get sick. So if my voice sounds weird, it's because of that. I'm just really cold. I also feel exhausted even though I got a good amount of sleep. So I must be getting sick, which is a bummer, but I guess it's a good time to be reading a lot. The rest of the day, the rest of the evening, afternoon, I'm just gonna be reading. My plan is to finish this book, then we'll pick out another one, and hopefully finish that book too. This is a pretty long book. It's about 580 pages. I think most of the other options I mentioned at the beginning of this video are shorter than that. So I'm hoping we'll get through 2 books. I don't know how people get through so many books in these 24-hour readathons. I'm definitely curious to do more of these and see how I can go at a faster pace. I know some people do the timer method, where if you're not actively reading, you're pausing the timer every single time, versus what I did, which was more like 12 hours on Saturday, 12 hours on Sunday. And if I was doing other stuff, going for a walk, eating, I did not pause the timer. People also do the 24 hours straight. I cannot pull an all-nighter, especially as a mom. I need my rest. I need to be ready, competent throughout the day. So I can't do 24 hours straight, but if you guys have any other ideas of if you liked this format for a 24-hour readathon, if you want me to try the timer method or something else, let me know in the comments, because I'll definitely do this again. It's been fun. We're only a little over halfway through, still have the whole day to read, but just something to think about. Like I said before, this is my first time doing one of these, so bear with me. I'm still figuring out what works well or not. But with that said, let's finish. Well, I am still loving it. I finished reading Wool and I rated it 5 stars. Oh my gosh, my voice sounds horrible. I'm definitely sick. I ended up taking a nap for a couple hours today, and I did pause the timer during that. So I am gonna read a little bit more tomorrow. It's 11 o'clock right now, and I have 3 hours and 25 minutes left on the clock. So tomorrow, my plan is to start reading Alchemy of Secrets by Stephanie Garber. I'm not gonna start it tonight because it's late. I am glad that I took a nap. I really needed to. I can't believe my voice sounds like this right now. When I napped, I had 5 blankets on top of me and I was still freezing. So I keep swapping between really hot and really cold. I definitely have chills. My throat hurts, but I am feeling a little better this evening. Not great, but not quite as shivering as I was earlier. So I'm glad I just finished Wool. This book was so good. Even though it was originally 5 short stories or novellas just put together in this book, everything flows really well. It reads like a novel. You have the same characters. There's continuity throughout the story. And I actually like that with it being 5 parts, we got questions answered, problems solved throughout the story, instead of it just leading up to one big reveal at the end, which is how the TV show is. So I do like how the story was told. And even though there's the same characters in a lot of the parts, each part focused more on different characters. We got different perspectives. We got to see different parts of the silo and see the silo through different lenses. I like that we got answers in this book, a lot of answers, instead of just having to wait for the next book. I did go ahead and request the next book from the library, so I'm excited to read that one soon. If you're into sci-fi, I highly recommend that you read this book. In the morning, I'll start Alchemy of Secrets. Hopefully my voice will sound better then. This readathon has not really gone as planned, especially with me getting sick, but that is okay. Wool was 580 pages and Alchemy of Secrets is 320. So hopefully I can read this whole book tomorrow, or at least make a lot of progress on it. I probably won't read the whole thing in the 3 hours, 25 minutes that I have left for the 24 hours, but we will see how far I get. I thought I'd read more, but life had other plans. Good night. I will see you in the morning. It is Monday. Thankfully, I don't have chills anymore, but I'm definitely still sick. I think my voice somehow sounds even worse than it did last night. So I'm gonna try not to talk too much more, but I started reading Alchemy of Secrets. I am about 32 pages into this book so far. I've got an hour and 41 minutes left on the clock. My baby is down for his nap right now, so the plan is to just read until the timer goes off and finishes up the 24 hours. I'm definitely not gonna be finishing this book, but I'll get as far as I can. I'm sorry my voice sounds so horrible. If you're still watching, thanks for bearing with me. I feel like I sound like an old lady. But Alchemy of Secrets is a new release. It follows Holland, who's taking, or did take, a folklore class, and it presented all these different myths and legends that she believes are real, and so she's looking to find out the truth of whether or not they're real. She wants to prove that they are. It's a very magical book, at least so far, and I imagine it's just gonna get even more magical as I get further into it. But I'm not gonna talk too much more. I'm just gonna go read. The 24 hours are up and I am 95 pages into Alchemy of Secrets. So about a third of the way through the book. I'm not gonna finish the book in this readathon. So if you wanna hear what I think of the entire book overall, be sure to subscribe because I'll talk about it in my end of the month reading wrap up. I also have my Goodreads linked in the description. That's where I rate and review all of the books that I read. So you can follow me on there if you want to see what I think of the books that I've read before I even talk about them on my YouTube channel. With the 95 pages I read of this, and then what I read of Wool, I read a total of 543 pages in 24 hours, which averages out to about 23 pages per hour. If I sit down and am actively reading the entire time, I think I read about a page a minute, so 60 pages in an hour, but obviously I was doing other things throughout the readathon. I got sick, but yeah, could be interesting to do the timer method instead if I do another 24-hour readathon in the future, but we will see. This was fun. It would have been nice if I could read a little bit more in this video, but Wool was a great read. Alchemy of Secrets, I'm liking it so far. It's an interesting, magical world. I am intrigued. So thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one.